You're listening to the Academy Podcast, presenting an innovative curriculum for personal growth. Sit in on exclusive conversations with influential people as they share the secrets that made them the front runners in their industries. Now, here are your hosts, Austin and Kagia.
You know how people, as a pastor, you have people come to you, they want to get married, right? You understand that there's some people, like I have a friend I won't name, right, who, when dating, is so particular that, has not gotten married yet because nobody fits like every single standard, right? So, and then you have other people who, would jump on the first thing, like will fall in love with somebody that got blaring, red flags, right?
Right.
So the same deal, I'm thinking about this same concept, man, when looking at real estate, looking at houses, when you're looking for a home, you want the right neighborhood, you want the right school system for your kids. Like there's a whole list of things that you kind of want. But at the same time, if a house is bad, I say bad enough, bad meaning good, right? If a house is sweet enough, you start ignoring some of the problems. So when we were looking at this house, right? We love the neighborhood, everything is sweet, right? But one thing we ignored was the fact that the unit wasn't really doing what the unit was supposed to be doing.
Okay.
Right?
What does that mean?
Meaning, it was hot when we were looking, and the unit didn't cool the house all the way down. And they were like, well, give it some more time. And we were so enamored by a lot of the other things, right?
It didn't matter.
Right. But that's like $8,000 if you're going to have to get another unit.
Right.
So, but we kind of ignored that. When back there somewhere in my mind, right, in my lizard brain somewhere, it was saying, yo, this is serious. Don't let them squeak past this. Right. But everybody was smiling. Everybody was nice. We'd been looking around. We saw so many other houses. This was the one. And it had that one thing that was wrong that is a major thing. And we kind of winked at it and kept going. And I'm curious, man, and it ended up costing us some money down the line, of course, right? So, and it's when you buy a house, there could be a lot of issues, and so there's a line somewhere between finding the perfect situation, right, and never finding a house, or winking at some big red flags. And the real deal is, man, until you've bought, a lot of houses, which most people don't buy a whole bunch of houses. Sometimes you don't know the difference between something that is insurmountable, something that you're going to draw the line at, and something that you're willing to go with. And so,
I think it's just a lot of I haven't bought yet, and I think on the next stop we probably will buy. But I think there's a lot of questions we got. There's a lot of there's a lot of gray areas that we're into. We want to have some nice spots, but you just I've been on Zillow, but I got to be a big boy and probably got to get a realtor and look into it. And I think that's a part of one of the things that we got to just jump into it, because this we just had Eric Thomas a couple episodes ago. Shout out to him. But he was really making the point about real estate. He kind of made this point that I thought was so dope, where he was kind of just like, look, people come up to him and say, yo, I'm scared to jump into real estate. And he's like, yo, what does that mean? You already in it. You paying somebody. Either you paying somebody or somebody's written from you. You already in it. When he said that, it kind of blew my mind. Why am I afraid of something? I think it's just a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of things that we just don't know. And it's important, I think, too, as Black men, that we should own something. We should own our home. We should own, the cars that we drive, man. And so today's a special pod for me. I'm excited, man. We're going to get into some stuff. This Academy podcast, our theme is a curriculum for growth, and so excited, very excited, man. We got a special person that I went to college with, man. We still young in the game though, but we had Greek and Hebrew together. I went on to be a pastor. She is a phenomenal realtor, and so I'm excited to have Sister Lexie Arnold in the building with us. We're going to bring her on. Lexie, what is going on? How you feeling today?
Guys.
Hey, what's up, Lexie? I just want to say one thing. We were talking in the background, right, before we started the podcast, and these two, Lexie and Austin, sitting here talking about they graduated in 2012 and how that was so long ago.
It was a long time ago. It's about to be 2021.
I know.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah,
No, dude.
10 years ago.
Like,
I'm serious.
I'm turning 31 in like a month, bro. Like, I'm
I
old
turned
now.
30 this year, so
Oh, like
I'm
it's
just feeling it. It feels different. It does.
It does.
Feel different.
It
Can I just tell you? Can I tell you something that old is relative, right? Because you know what I'm saying. Like old to you, like you remember when you were 10, like old was 20. All right, you remember when old people that couldn't do nothing used to be 40, right?
Yeah.
But when you get 40, like old moves, all right? Because old to me is now is 75. Like if you ain't 75, you a whippersnapper. Like you cool. Like we good. All right. So the line moves. This is hilarious. Listen to y'all.
Expectations, like at 30, you would like. I thought I would be at a completely different phase in life. So
absolutely,
as you grow, experience, it helps with your perspective on what life should be like.
But it's still been a long time since we were in college together when we were taking classes with Dr. Allen and everybody else, man. So it's definitely definitely glad to have you on the pod today. So Lexie, you're a realtor. You're out there in DC. Just real quick before we get into some questions, tell us how that thing got started for you.
Yeah, so kind of like Austin said, we were in Hebrew class and stuff like that together in college. Nowhere would I've ever thought that my trajectory would have brought me to real estate. But I just kind of majored in theology because I love religion, and it was an area that I liked learning about. But I never really had the track to want to do ministry or want to be a pastor. That was never really in me. But in the process of figuring it out, I worked at the Hope Channel for a little bit, which is a station that's religious and spiritually based. And while I was working there, I realized, you know what? I don't really like working for people too much. I don't really like having to answer to people. I like being able to kind of call my own shots and live life on my terms.
Absolutely.
So my dad has been in real estate my whole entire life. And, when you look at the jobs that your parents have, you don't always see yourself in their shoes. So to me, that was just my dad. That's what he did. My first job was actually working for him when I was 13, but I was just doing clerical work. Like I was a secretary for him. He gave me a little job for the summer and paid me under the table. So I'm like, oh, this is what real estate is, working at a desk, answering phones. I don't want to do that.
Right.
So that was my only frame of reference. But when I grew up and after working at Hope Channel and shadowing him for a little bit, I realized that I really loved it. And obviously, him being my dad, I had a great mentor. So I studied under him for a few years, learned the ropes. He does a lot of investing. So I was able to kind of learn the investment side of things through him. And then working traditionally with clients, he's at a place in his life where he was kind of capping on his business. So I moved to another brokerage where I kind of learned the ropes of helping clients buy and sell their home. So kind of have the whole spectrum, the investment side, and then also helping people purchase property to live in it.
Yeah, I remember my sister used to work at was it Old Navy or the Gap? One of those back in the day. So whenever they had this thing like where jeans would be like 99 cents or something, like they have like a whole bunch of jeans for 99 cents. And I don't think any real customers ever got those jeans. Like because whenever they put the jeans at 99 cents,
somebody got those jeans. Man.
Like my sister was like, she would get them and give them to me. Like so I see what you're saying. Like if you're in real estate and you're helping people get their homes and everything. If a home come off and it already got $30,000 equity in it, it's like, I could show this off to somebody, or I could just get it for myself. Yeah. So I can see how you can start off one way and end up saying, hold on, I need to get into this and make some money on the other side. So I can see how that happens. Yeah.
So it's been a fun experience and journey.
So Lexie, I got to ask you. So, you're young, you're black, you're in DC in a prominent city, but I'm sure that it's not easy. I'm sure that there's some misconceptions that come along with real estate. We see the stuff on Instagram, we see the stuff on Twitter, we see the big houses, we see the big paydays, the pictures. But I mean, in reality, what is it like? Really?
Yeah, it's really a grind, like anything. I think, HGTV and, all of these $1 million real estate shows that we see have made us think that like real estate is what you could put into a 24, episode that they did in an hour. Like it's not like that. It can be quite challenging. And I think for those who are trying to get into the business side of it, there are tons of misconceptions out there, just that it's super easy when it's not. Anything that's worth something can be hard work. And so for those who are looking forward to get into the investing side, like buying houses and renovating them for a profit, that can be really tricky because there's a ton of trial and error. I mean, you're putting up your own money or the money of someone who's investing in your hope and dream to buy this house. And that comes with a lot of learning, a huge learning curve. And then on the side of it, like if you're a realtor who helps people buy and sell their homes who want to live in those properties, that's hard too, because traditionally realtors get paid on commission. They don't have a flat salary. So they could sell one house, and get a lump sum right away, but then they may have to stretch that check until they sell the next house. So it's a lot of like reconditioning that you have to do in your mind to learn how to re-budget, to be your own boss on both sides of it. And it can be challenging. But I also want to kind of put this little nugget in here too.
Yeah.
For those of us, especially Black people, right? Millennials or somewhere we got in our head that if we wanted to purchase a property to live in it, that is just super hard and the process is so daunting. And on that side of it, it doesn't have to be. There are so many professionals that are out there to help navigate you through the process to make it easy for you so that, we can also attain wealth through living in properties as well.
Okay. Speaking of that, so I'm not in real estate as a broker or anything like that, but the reality is, I do own a rental property and I live in a house. And so the kind of
process been for you, like managing the tenants and stuff?
Okay. For one, all right. So
he's been waiting for this. Yeah.
So since you asked, okay, I wasn't even going there right now, right? But since you asked, so when we first left Huntsville, like we rented the house out and we rented out to some young ladies. They took real good care of the house for a year. And then the next year, because the house is near a campus. And so the next year, we rented it out to some guys. Yeah.
They're a whole different ball game.
Right. And so after that school year, we had to put another $10,000 back into the house to get it back to a spot where we can rent. Plus, we didn't get all the money because we were doing everything ourselves, and they kept calling with sob stories about not being able to pay, and we kept going for the sob stories.
So you kind of helped them out every month, and that added to your profit.
Right. Yeah. So what we end up doing is hiring somebody to manage the property. And hallelujah, because I don't have to worry about trying to find somebody to fix this or fix that. I don't have to worry about collecting rent. I don't have to worry about evicting people and then finding somebody else to get in there. And it's just 10%. It's night and day.
All of that. Yeah, and I was going to say that too. I think for people who do want to get into investing by buying and holding, which is what you're doing, you're holding the property, having some people live in there to kind of pay off the mortgage and the expenses. People think, I have this income producing property. Yes, I could be a landlord. That's easy. No, not when you have a job and you're trying to, live your life, and you don't want somebody calling you at 12 o'clock at night telling you, the toilet won't flush. So I think what you did there of having a property manager at first, again, getting into that real estate mindset is like, an additional expense, but it helps out for the long term in so many ways, and maybe even helping to offset, them being able to pull in your heartstrings. The property manager gets that all day.
Right. Absolutely.
Blow over on them.
Absolutely. And I'm acting like, I don't know why I'm acting like I'm on somebody else's show. Like I can't say who my property manager is. Hey, this is my show. I can do whatever I want to do.
Yeah,
so let me tell you, Holloway and Associates, Carnice, my soror, is the one that manages my property. She's been doing it for 10 years now. And so shout out to Carnice and Holloway Associates in Huntsville, Alabama. All right.
Good to know, because I'm trying to get my family and I, we want to start investing in Huntsville. And we don't live there, obviously. So just a little plug, Huntsville is actually an emerging market. We have tons of stuff coming out.
Wow.
So, if you can, you're already doing the right thing. We're thinking about trying to invest there. So you got to remind me of your property manager, because I might need to talk to her.
So Lex, I got to ask you. So I'm sure it's obvious, but talk to the importance about reputation and why it's so important in your business.
Yeah, I think like anything, and this is kind of something that I struggled with early on, because I'm a very independent person. And when it comes to my work, I don't want to necessarily have to play a role or play two people. I want to kind of be consistent across the board. So it kind of took me a long time to figure out how I could let my personality breathe through my work? Like, is there a way for me to still be professional, right? But also be able to showcase who I am as a person. And a lot of times for realtors, they're selling themselves because, again, we are our own bosses. So unless, there's nobody who's out here advertising to work with our company or whatever. So, that's why you probably see on Instagram tons of realtors, always showing off their houses and the things that they're doing, because that's how they get business. By constantly putting that in the forefront of their followers' minds, they're able to get their followers to engage with them when they are ready to buy or sell. I don't really work like that. It's probably something that I need to do more of. Occasionally I'll put it up on my stories or show it how I'm talking about on my posts. But for me, I try to kind of just do it more of a referral system where I let my work speak for itself. So I let my clients refer me business instead of me having to put on a flashing sign saying, come work with me, come work with me.
Right.
All right. So I'm thinking the difference between some kinds of traps. Some traps, you go around, like when you fishing, you going to try to find the fish. But like if you got a snare trap, the people got to come by the trap. I'm just thinking about realtors and how, like, you may not get everybody with the flashing signs like you were talking about, but like when people come to you, you do want to keep the ones that come. So for my church, like maybe we don't get as many people through signage and stuff like that. But if you come to visit my church, I'm trying to make sure the people that come and visit actually stay.
Right.
So just quick story on that. Like when we moved here, we were looking for a house and we didn't know any better. We was just on Zillow or whatever. There are a few different sites like that. And we saw some houses that we kind of picked out, and there was like a button to push for you to get a realtor. Right. And then, so we had like 7 houses lined up, and we had 3 with one realtor and like 4 with the other realtor. Mm-hmm. And so one of the realtors was trying to get us to sign something and like agree to something. And we were kind of confused because now we got 2 realtors and it seemed like we were supposed to only have one. Yeah. And I was like, man, I didn't know, like I was like choosing, you know what I'm saying? It's just like when you get married and you sleep on one side of the bed and you don't realize you was making a choice for life. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't know like that I was making a choice. I just pushed the button. I didn't know I was choosing like who was going to be my realtor in this particular town. And so we had to kind of choose between the 2 of those. And it was purely, we chose based on, both of them were nice, but one of them seemed like they knew what they were doing. They seemed, and even though the other one was really sweet, we went with the one. And so
you just picked one.
It wasn't arbitrary though. I mean, if she was clearly the realtor, like in town, like she's the one, like when we sell, she's selling our house, like no doubt. Right. So I'm thinking about you and the fact that like when people like get you based on pushing a button, based on luck or whatever, come across you first, like how do you make sure that they stay with you? And like, what do you present? Like, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Like she gave me a pen with her face on it. And that was kind of like, I even called her the lady with the pen. Like when we were deciding, I said, let's go with the lady with the pen. She gave us a packet like with a pen with her face on it and a whole bunch of other stuff in it, like a nice package. And I was like, yo, let's go with the lady with the pen.
Yeah, I love that. And some realtors, they do tactics like that. I'm not as salesy as that. I try to, let my experience speak for itself. And so like early on in my career, you're kind of just taking on whatever and whoever kind of comes your way, you're trying to fight for their business. Thank God I'm in a position now where I have a ton of stuff under my belt, and the company that I work for, when you kind of mention different sites where you can go on and you can kind of click a button. They, my information in my bio is right on the website with all of my customer reviews. So before you even meet with me, you're getting my rap sheet. And you can kind of figure out somebody that you want to move forward with. So I always tell my clients, obviously, you're not married to me. I go into it with the mindset that I'm going to work with you. That's just how I'm approaching it. But you can still shop around like you would for any other service provider. And you want to make sure, that the person that you're working with, you click with too. Because you're going to be working with them for at least a month or a few months as you find a house. So you just don't want it to kind of be like that type of system where I found you on a website and then you popped up and so you automatically get my business. No, the realtor that you're working with needs to earn your business. they're working for you and with you.
Yeah, but it's only the best that would say you can shop around. Like it's only if you know you better than them.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Yeah,
That's
I can
true.
say that because I know at the end of the day, once you meet me, hopefully you are not going to want to go to nobody else. So
You're banking on the personal experience.
Yeah, on the personal experience, and but I would still, even if your realtor is not going to tell you that, I would advise you to do that, unless you know off the bat that this is like if it was a referral and your best friend or your family member work with this agent, you already know what they can do. So you may not even shop around, like the same thing you would do for a doctor or whatever. But if it's like your first experience and you don't know anything about it, you at least want to talk to 2 or 3 people to kind of, if anything, just gather as much information as you can, and then decide who you gravitate towards.
Now, last question, because we do want to talk about investment properties as well. But last question about regular home shopping. Like you do live in Chocolate City, so does that?
It's not no more.
Oh, really?
Oh, gentrification, baby.
Oh, see,
gentrification.
I didn't know.
Most of my clients that I work with are not minorities at this point.
Really?
Wow, really?
Weird, because on the investment side of it, like the people who are selling their houses, like people who can't, like older people or somebody passed away and the family has to sell the house, those are all people of color, right, who used to live in DC. But once the properties are getting renovated, people who are not of color, who don't look like you and me, are buying those houses. So it's a turnover. So yeah, that's what's kind of
happening. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that affect business, or does it?
It's a little bit of a challenge because we know the deal. As people of color, we got to work twice.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I have to do, in some cases, I don't necessarily look at it as a disadvantage ever, because it just allows me to kind of, showcase what I do. But I do have to work a little bit harder to get the business of some people, who may not look like me. It works in my advantage maybe when there are people who do. But for the most part, I kind of feel like I got to do a little bit more just to prove that I'm worth, my way to.
Do you feel like it's competition, Lexie?
Oh, for sure. No, real estate in general is very, very competitive. Like you talked about earlier, you talked to 2 people. Unfortunately, you had to let somebody down and let them know that you weren't going to be working with them. And
she was so nice.
Oh,
she was so nice.
So she lives off commission. So every time that she gets a no, that could possibly affect her pocket. So people are out. It's very, very, very cutthroat, especially in DC. DC is just a cutthroat business in general. So yeah, it's very, very competitive, and it can kind of take a mental toll on you. I know for a long time, starting off in the business, I was stressed all the time because, like, if I don't work, I don't eat. So not only do I have to make the clients that I have, right? I also have to do business, and that was fairly challenging. But I found a sweet spot now with the brokerage that I'm working with, that it takes some of that pressure off of getting new business, because they kind of bring stuff my way, and then I just have to kind of close the people that they kind of bring to me. So it's a little different.
So speaking about the fact that you work with a lot of people that are non-minorities, I enjoy sometimes being like the black person that the black person that, look, if I'm going to represent all black people, I kind of like that position. I can represent. Yeah. This is me. I'm black people. Come on, work with me. Watch this. I bet you like black people after you work with me. Like, I'm your first one. Yeah, come on.
Yeah,
that's true.
Give us a good reputation, huh?
Absolutely. Hey, I got it. Before we move to invest, I got to ask Lexie this question, because we see all the time, Lexie, on Twitter and especially Instagram, we see these sponsored posts. Anybody can flip the house. You can flip. Come to this seminar downtown, at the convention center. Just, whatever your credit score is, you can flip. Are those type of things just a scam, or do those things actually work?
It's not a scam, but I just want you to know that when you see that type of stuff, it's usually working in who's ever advertising you. They want you to work for them to help them find deals, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So how you find deals in real estate? There's several ways, but the biggest way is through your sphere of influence. So say you're an investor, right? You're going to, or somebody who wants to flip or buy houses. Before me as a realtor knows, you're going to know that your family member got a divorce and they need to sell their house, or that your mom is thinking about selling their house, or your neighbor down the street, right? So the people who are advertising to you about these seminars, they know that too. So they feel like the more people that we have in our pocket will be people who will let us know about these opportunities. So it's a way for them to kind of rope you in so that you can hand them the business, because they know they have the experience, but you have the people. So that's how that works.
Wow.
Yeah. So kind of.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, that's how that works. But if
Hey, that's kind of crazy, G.
No, dude, I knocked on doors, dude, for about 2 months. I knocked on doors. We were looking through the papers for who was upside down in their house.
Snap.
And I knocked on doors for a company and talked to people about letting us pay off their debt for them.
Right. And you
then
were the one that was going to actually be doing it, but you were the one that was making the relationship.
Right. I was making a relationship, and so and they would give me $1,000 if they made 25,000. You know, so basically, yeah. So, but I was out there in the street in Atlanta, you know, knocking on doors, trying to find people who couldn't pay their rent, who couldn't pay their mortgage.
And so what you were doing is called wholesaling, right? Where you are, or to a degree, like sometimes you can get the property under contract, like the person that builds the relationship, they can tell the person like, hey, this is a crazy number. I'm going to buy this house from you for $5. The person is trusting you. So they were like, okay, I've been talking to this person for however long. I trust them. I'm going to sell this house to them for $5. But then say this was Austin. Austin takes it back to his investor, who he knows will pay so much more for it, and says, you know, I'll give it to you for $10. And so then Austin would be able to pocket that $5. So the seller would get $5, Austin would get $5, and his investor friend would have been able to purchase it for $10. So like do that math when it's bigger.
Right.
Absolutely.
So what I always try to tell people is learn as much as you can. There's so much information out there. Like what you guys are doing right now is a podcast. There's tons of other information, real estate. There's this podcast called Bigger Pockets, where you can learn how to do these things without having to go to those seminars. So you can get rid of the middleman and figure out, you know, how to do it yourself. So when you do have those opportunities and you do have your neighbor, you know, you can really work in good faith with them, give them a fair value for it, right? But then be able to still get some type of profit off of it at the end.
Yo, in Huntsville, man, my next door neighbor was moving out. And like I knew that house was gonna go for $60,000, and it was worth $95,000. I remember this was like 15, 20 years ago, whatever. But man, I was so mad that somebody else bought it because I knew that what the house was worth.
Wasn't it or whatever, put a little love into it.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess, I mean, talk about investing and having like the money. It's like, because the whole thing about investing is you got to have the money to invest. And I'm just thinking about how in life you buy low and sell high. Right. But generally people get in the stock market when it's doing good, and so they buy high. And generally people, you know, are in the housing market when it's good. But really when things are going bad, when there's a recession, that's really the time to snap stuff up. And so you really got to be ready for when it ain't going good, because that's an investment time.
So many opportunities, and then you want to be in a position where you kind of buy it and hold it for a while. So when the market goes back up, then that's where you can kind of make your profit. And I think, you know, as people of color, sometimes we don't know these things. So again, there's so much free information out there. If you're thinking about investing, the number one podcast I would recommend to you for that is Bigger Pockets.
Bigger Pockets.
The ropes. It's free. You don't have to go to a seminar for that. So just try to do as much research and information as you can out there, you know, as you can, and it'll kind of lead you into the right direction.
Do you see that amongst, you know, young adults, in particular African American young adults, are we kind of hesitant to pull the trigger on investing?
Oh, for sure. Somewhere in our brains, and they're really staggering numbers, somewhere in the brain of the Black person, and, you know, other people and races and nationalities, their parents didn't teach them this, but somewhere along the way, we learned that you don't need to buy real estate to have wealth in this country, when that is completely false. And unfortunately, there are statistics out there that are saying that we're doing worse now as a people in terms of the amount of ownership than we were, you know, back when there was segregation, which is completely crazy. So I really want to, you know, be a voice or try to help our people really realize that it's, you know, that it's so attainable for them to also be able to, you know, generate wealth through real estate. And I think that one of the most attainable ways to do it, like say you don't want to get into the investment side of it, like flipping properties and stuff, is to figure out how you can actually own a house for you and your family. And so there are like 3 tiers to that. And just, you know, kind of starting to have those conversations will help debunk some of the myths that you may have. So the first tier, before you even get to the realtor, is talking to a lender. So your lender is going to help you map out a game plan. They're the people who help you secure the financing for the loan to purchase the property. So your lender is going to say, hey, this is your credit score. This is how much money you guys have coming in every month. What can we do to get you on the path for home ownership? And they'll help you literally hold your hand through the whole process to help you get there. Then the realtor comes in, right? And then they help you find the house. Once you find the house, your contract, in most cases, if it's not a competitive situation where there are other offers competing against yours, you should always have an inspection contingency in that contract. What that means is that after you get a house, right? You put an offer in on it. Your inspector is going to come through and see everything that is wrong with that house. And they're going to tell you, how you were talking earlier about how you kind of ran into some problem with the air conditioner. The inspector, she probably told you that in advance. Obviously, it's up to you to move forward or walk away. But 9 times out of 10, if you have an inspection contingency in there, the seller isn't going to want to lose you. So they're going to fix those things before you move in. So those are the types of things that, help you have a smoother transition, talking to the lender so you can get on the right track. Once you get there, getting a realtor who's going to help you negotiate and get you a great deal. And then on the backside of it, make sure that your investment is protected, that you're not getting some limit of a house where there's tons of things wrong with it, that you're going to have to continually pour money into it. Right. So those are the kind of things that kind of help make the process a great, investment opportunity for people who want to live in the home.
So even the home that you're living in as an investment, and that's kind of where for somebody that moves around as a pastor, and I know there are other fields where people move around a lot. Whoa. Just want to ask you a question because there's some line Mendenhall, when I got hired, he instructed us me, I don't know if he told everybody this, but he was like, look, every time you move, no, he didn't tell me that. He told me to buy a house. Oh, he said he bought a house everywhere he moved. And so by the time he retired, he had a lot of houses. And so we bought, we already owned a house, and then we bought a house here, and then we moved somewhere else, we'll buy a house there. Yeah. And so in that way, it goes from residential to rental property. But the question I have for you is this: for people like me, like what is the threshold? If I know I'm only going to be somewhere for 3 years versus 5 years versus 8 years, what is the threshold that makes it worth it to go through the process of closing costs and everything you have to do to buy a house, versus just renting a house because I'm only temporary? So
it depends on the market, right? So I can speak for DC, where I know that in a year or two, that house is going to skyrocket in equity, where you're going to be able to at least recoup some of the costs that you put down in closing costs, as well as make a little bit of a profit. So I would do research on the market that you are thinking about purchasing in. Again, you're going to want to ask a professional. Asking for trends, actually give you comps for the past few years of a particular property that's sold. And so you can look at the neighborhood that you want to purchase in, look at those comps, see the properties that are like the ones that you want to purchase in size, location, condition. See how, what they purchased those properties for and then what they were able to sell them for. Because some markets are not emerging markets where you can buy a property and it's not going to escalate in value for years to come. So you want to see if that is the trend. Obviously, there's no way to completely project that. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know if the market is going to crash, but you can at least put yourself in a better, favorable odds by doing some research before you purchase to see if this is a renter's market where I should just be renting here because nothing is really moving on the buy-sell side, or if this is no, if you can get a deal here, you want to purchase this house because in 5 years you can make a return on that.
I know you thought this was a podcast, but this is really personal consultation.
I know you're getting free consultation right now. This is
so look, we get phone calls and mail, right? All the time. And they trip me out because they try to write it in regular handwriting, but it's still printed. It's this. I know this is not personal. They try to do it like it's a personal note. They use my first name and say, "Hey, we're just looking for houses in the area. We want to buy your house for you." So everybody's trying to buy my house from me because I'm out of town, and they obviously know that. And so all these realtors are trying to. Whoever it is, investors are trying to buy my house from me. But and you know what? If somebody wants to give me a little more than what it's worth, I'll sell it in a second. But I try to tell them whenever I talk to them on the phone, look, I'm cool. I'm getting rent every month. You know what I'm saying? I'm not one of those people that I need to sell my house. But if you want to give me more than it's worth, I'll take it. Yeah. So,
So typically investors are not going to give you more than what it's worth because they have to factor in their spread to make money. The
right.
people who are going to give you more than what it's worth are people who want to live in your house and stay there for X amount of years. Yeah,
right.
You kind of know that too. Like you might be able to, like if you put it on the market, obviously when you put it on the market, you're going to get the most return on your investment than if you were to ever just sell it to an investor outright. But I kind of wanted to talk to you quickly about what you were saying about when you are thinking about buying and holding it for long term.
Yeah.
A lot of times people think, people who live in the house, I'm going to put all these upgrades on the house and it's going to increase the value exponentially.
Talk about that, please.
Right. Like I'm going to put an addition on the house, or I'm going to go ahead and fix up the bathroom. I'm going to fix up the kitchen. And they do a job that, maybe to their personal taste, but it's not something that buyers are looking for. So I always do. Like, don't go ahead and just put all these upgrades because you think it's going to yield money because, there's going to be somebody out there that's going to like what you did. No. I would always get a professional to help you gauge what the market is doing now and what.
Oh, that's a word.
What paint colors are they looking for? It even kind of comes down to the paint color of a door. Sometimes they can garner about $5,000 more if the door is a certain color. Because there are certain colors that are appealing to certain times of the year and certain buyers. So you don't want to just go ahead and do renovations yourself. I walked into a house yesterday where my client is about to sell the property. For some reason, she lucked up because she had done a lot of renovations that actually were favorable. Maybe she watches a ton of HGTV. I don't know, but that is rare. Where I walk into a house and I'm like, you thought that was an upgrade, but we're going to have to fix that because it's not.
Wow.
That. So don't automatically think that you're just putting in a whole bunch of work and it's going to yield you a certain return. I would not. Yeah. Or if you want to do it for your personal taste, do it. But just know when it's time to sell, you're going to have
to change it up.
Even now, we did it when we were renting. I mean, I don't know why I was mad because, I put work into all these accent walls. I made everything the way I wanted it. It was like, nope.
Walls. You like it when you live in it, but when a buyer walks in, it needs to be as neutralized as possible so as it can be as appealing to as many people as possible. And, like us as people of color, like, again, walking into another client's house, she has so many beautiful accent walls. I would love it. She has so much African art. But again, that the buyer's market, it doesn't appeal for the people who are trying to buy in that area. So we have to completely neutralize everything, make all the walls white or gray and really.
And that's money out of her pocket.
Right. Well, not always. So some brokerages can kind of factor it into the commission. But sometimes, you will have to come out of pocket for the things that we can't do.
So, Lexie, we talk a lot about money. We talk a lot about going in and out of homes. I took two questions from a group of people that I told some of the homies from college I was talking to about. One of them asked, and I think I put it into the chat or in our email, we were talking about with the questions, how big does your credit score really matter? When we came out of our, college, got the masters, apartments, we were renting, had a couple of credit cards in the past. Maybe somebody got married, had kids. In terms of, if I want to buy a home, do I need to say to myself, I got to fix my credit score first before I jump into it? Is that the practice that you?
Yes, but the lender is going to help you with that first. So don't get scared, right? Because that's not your level of expertise. And it's not mine either. So I tell my clients, I help you with the housing portion of it. Getting your finances, I'm going to send you to a professional that can do that. So your lender is the one who's going to help you get on the right track. They're going to tell you this is what your credit score needs to be. If you want to, there are several types of loans. There are three really primarily. A VA loan, where if you're a bank, you don't have to put any money down. All right. There's another loan that a lot of people who look like us get. It's called an FHA 203K loan, where you're putting, sorry, not a 203K, just an FHA loan, where you're putting down about, 5 to 6%. The best loan program out there outside of VA is conventional, where people are putting down 10 to 20%, because that loan is a little bit more favorable in the long run. So you need to, I want to get more people who look like us to be able to get that type of loan. And the only way to do that is by starting the process early.
That's good.
Yeah. So you want to talk to your lender and say, like, how can I get the most favorable loan? What do I need to do to get there? So not to scare you, but so that they can help.
It's information, though.
Right.
Get those credit scores up, So the game plan, they also can help, like, with credit repair. So sometimes it's just about, calling those creditors where you owe money to, and, you paid it off, but they haven't taken it off of the offer.
Right.
Things that, you're working full time, you're living your life, that's too tedious. But the credit repair people can do that. and
Right.
get moved along a lot quicker. So sometimes we think the process is so daunting, it's just because lack of information. But talking to
Right.
a professional will help you get on the right track.
Yeah, let me throw this out there because it's basically getting started to get started because if your credit's not ready, then that's right. Then when you go talk to the lender, they're gonna help you get the credit ready. I remember, I mean, like we got married, we had to wait 6 months to get our house because during that 6 months we were calling. We had a credit people helping us with our credit. So we were taking care of debt. We were taking care of this, taking care of that. And then we got our house 6 months later. So it didn't take 12 years to fix the credit, but we just needed a little runway, so we rented for 6 months and then we were able to go and buy a house under the right conditions. But I want to ask you this, because I know you got another question, but along with this first question, I'm going to ask you the difference. And I know you said this is not your thing, but just in case you got the answer for the people, all right, I'm going to throw it out there. I'm going to throw you this pitch. All right, so I remember going from a 30-year to a 15-year mortgage in my first house, and that saved us so much money and so much time with that mortgage because the APR was so different. But then when I tried to buy this house, they gave us a hard time. They wouldn't give us the 15-year mortgage.
You already owned something already, and you already had some. Was it because you already owned the house, already owned another property?
They didn't say that. It was strange because this was going to be the one we lived in, but they wouldn't put it on a 15. And even if they put it on a 15, the difference wasn't going to be as much as it used to, as drastic as it used to be. And so we wasn't going to save as much money as back in the day. Like something changed.
Right.
What's affecting that right now is what people are really trying to take advantage of are the low interest rates. 2020 has just been crazy. So once everything happened with COVID, interest rates plummeted really low. So everybody has been trying to lock in those rates, and that's what will affect those 30-year fixed and 15-year mortgages that you're getting. So that's the great thing about talking to a lender too, because they'll let you know the trajectory of the rates that are currently happening. Like I think right now, I think when we started COVID, they were some people were getting locked in at 2.5%. One of my most recent clients, she was at 3%. So, it's kind of creeping back up a little bit.
Wow.
But the great thing too is that you can, once you talk to the lender and you getting your stuff together, they can lock you in at a certain rate. And then you can hold that rate until you find something if it's within a certain time window.
2.5.
Goodness gracious. Yo, dude, I just kind of think that the biggest thing that, and I'm glad we're doing this pod today, man, for the listeners also who are watching, I think it's just the fear of misinformation. Like, we're just misinformed. We're misinformed. What E.T. said that, one of the greatest things that we fail in as Black folk is the fear of economics, not knowing exactly what we need to know when it comes to real estate, when it comes to money. And like you just said, that's the lender's job. I don't have to worry about my credit right away. I can talk to somebody about it, get some answers, get some questions. I do think, to your point, I was living in Atlanta. We should have bought that. We should have bought, man, before we moved to North Carolina. We should have bought what we beat ourselves up about. I think one of the reasons why we didn't was because we just didn't know.
You didn't know. You don't know what you don't know.
You just don't know. Right.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, and that's why you all are listening to the Academy podcast right now. That's why y'all here right now. This is where you can grow. This is where you learn what you need to know. Like we don't just talk to preachers in here. We got a realtor in here that also has a theology background, but so she won't steer you wrong. And so we're trying to get y'all this information here on the Academy podcast.
Yeah, and I think sometimes too, really quickly, people of color, I think sometimes we are just afraid to ask the people that we know for help. And don't be afraid to do that. There are tons of resources probably within your own family or your community. And even if for whatever reason, I know it can kind of get muddy, you don't always want to work with family or friends, at least an opportunity to help you, and see if they can lead you to somebody who can also get you on the right path. So you don't have to go super far. Just kind of use the resources that you have at your disposal and just get the process started. I think action is what I tell everybody to do in any phase of your life. Like, if you want something in the future, if you want to get to a certain point, you're not going to get there standing still. So take steps, set goals. And even if it's just starting a conversation, and that's the first action step you have, start doing that.
That's it.
Right. Yeah. Again, you got to start.
Yeah.
If you don't think you're ready, make sure it's a professional that you're talking to
Right.
that's telling you how to get ready. Like, don't just keep saying you ain't ready. Like, all right, well, get ready. All right.
Right. Get ready now.
You may be in a better position than you even thought, but you wouldn't know if you never asked.
Right. Because our first house, we put a little down, but they didn't even want it. Like, we didn't have to put any money down because they had a program, some kind of it's not scholarship, whatever the program was at the bank for first-time home buyers. And so, yeah.
And a lot of people don't know about that too. I know in DC, there's tons of first-time home buyer programs. Now, typically, that's another one of getting ready to get ready, because those city-run programs, they're going to put you through the ropes to give you money. They're just not going to give you money for free. So it's a longer process, and you want to have that stuff done before you find the house that you want. But yeah, there are tons of first-time home buyer programs where literally they'll give you the money for the down payment, and it's completely forgivable after a few years. So it's like a grant. It's not even a loan. So you want to ask your local, again, professionals. I keep putting that word out there, but people are in a business for a reason. So you want to ask the professionals of that business, are there any programs in this area that are for first-time home buyers where I could get some buyers assistance?
All right,
That's good.
So I got a very important question. Now, you talked about, like, when you're trying to sell a house, you want it to look neutral. Now, I'm looking at you, all right, and I don't know if if you're sitting in an investment property right now, but I see you with the neutral colors. But I'm looking at that wall art. That wall art. I don't know if it's a neutral color, but that's banging. Like,
that's banging. It is hot. It's hot.
My personal taste. In another life somewhere, I'll be an interior designer, but no.
That's what's up. No, Lexie, we appreciate you coming through today, jumping on being a part. I do got an audience question. My boy, as my boy Chris wants to know. This is kind of a fun question, and then we want to ask you where people can find you, what's next for you, that kind of thing. Would realtors, and be honest if you can, I'm sure you will. Would realtors rather sell once a year a major $1 million home, or just have consistent business throughout the year?
I would rather have consistent business throughout the year.
Now tell us why, because when we see the glitz and the glamour of a humongous house in Miami, somebody sells a rapper or a ball player, we just kind of think that realtor is set for the rest of the year. But that's not the case?
No, not for me personally. That's how I was living my life for a long time, and it's just not. It's too stressful because, again, like, let me just kind of give you some perspective for your friend, because I'm assuming they're probably interested in getting into it. A realtor gets paid off of commission traditionally. So the house, once it sells, they can do a ton of work, and the house may not sell, or they might get fired and they don't get paid. Out of that commission is they get paid, there's a 6% commission check. So if the house sells for, a certain amount, they're going to get 6% of that. Out of that 6%, this buyer's agent, so the person who brought the buyer gets 3, the person who brought the seller gets 3. Then out of that 3% that you walk away with, your broker, so the person where you hold your license as a realtor, you have to be affiliated with a brokerage, they get an additional piece of that pie. Then all the fees that you put into marketing the property, those are business expenses, your taxes, 30% of that come out of that. So you're selling a $1 million house, but you're walking away with less than maybe $20,000 or so, less than that. That's not going to sustain you for a year.
Absolutely not.
So you're seeing us sell all these $1 million homes, but you got to do those numbers at least
consistently.
$1 million house to make $60,000 4 times a year, and that's just not sustainable. So I'd rather be working on even getting lower amounts more consistently than just selling one big house, at a time. Yeah. And then again, it's the stress of that. Like, you were able to close this deal. When is the next one going to come? So I kind of changed my business structure where I'm taking less on the commission side, but I'm doing more volume. So it works out that way.
It works out. That's good. That's great for somebody trying to jump into it, for sure.
Right. So that would be my piece of advice. See if there's like a brokerage somewhere in your area. I work with Redfin now, where you kind of get like a base salary, and then you're getting it says off of every deal you close, but they're giving you tons of business in addition to people that you're bringing through your sphere and your friends and family.
That's wisdom.
All right. So what do you think about for sale by owner?
I don't think it's I think they think that they're winning, but they're shooting themselves in the foot every time, because they don't know anything about selling real estate. So whoever's going to come to them, and to them it's going to be a big number. right? But if they had somebody else that they could kind of bounce that off of, a professional again, they probably would have made a much bigger spread or a much bigger return than the person who saw the sign in their driveway and said, "Oh, they're selling this by themselves. I can get that for a great deal." So yeah, I would not advise it. Again,
she's like, nah, don't do it.
Yeah, what you
don't do it.
Earlier, you think you're kind of saving some money, like you were saying with the whole rental thing. You guys were managing yourself. You guys thought that was maybe save you some money, and it wasn't. So the same thing, you might have to hire a professional. It might cut a little bit off of the commission you have to give them, but you're going to ultimately get a better return on that investment typically than trying to sell it by yourself.
Yo, well, look, we're glad that you came through today. This is the pod we needed right here today. This is it. But Lexie, before we go, tell us where we can find you. Tell us what's next for you.
Yeah.
What you got coming up.
So right now I am just continuing to grow my business. I've been put in a position where it takes some of that stress off of me of trying to find business. So I'm working with the clients that I have, loving that. Starting some other entrepreneurial ventures, investing in some of my own real estate outside of helping my clients find their houses. So that's where I am. If you guys have any questions ever, if there were some things in the podcast that, we maybe get in touch on and you want to dig a little bit deeper, I'm always open. I'm on Instagram. It's just my name. _ Alexandra Arnold. You won't see much stuff real estate related on there, but no, you can always
that's you
DMs about it.
Yeah, for sure.
You can also just email me as well. My link to email me is in my bio on my Instagram page, but it's also my name for my email. So it's just Alexandra. You guys are calling me Lexie. That's my nickname. But my full name is Alexandra. So my email is alexandra.arnold@redfin.com.
Redfin.com. Yo, that's what's up. G, what you think?
Ellis, I'm ready to go make that money, man.
Yeah.
Listen, I just want to always be prepared, like, for a bad, like, right now it's 2.5%. Like, this is time. I'm ready to buy something, like, now.
He about to go now.
So, like what can I get? If I got to get this shack, whatever I can afford right now, it's time to go get it.
Yeah. And you know what you guys are doing? I want to throw this thing out. The last thing, if you guys are doing that thing too, don't always think you have to do it by yourself. There's such things called joint ventures where you could team up with somebody. Like if you guys feel like you could be good in business together, or you worked with somebody in the past, you guys could both push your money down together and purchase something
own together.
So, again, don't feel like as Black people we got to be so strong. We got to do it by ourselves. No, that's not how other people do it. So we got to think smart, not hard.
I have been schooled today, bro. I've been schooled today. This is good.
Good. I love it. Love it.
Yeah. So we appreciate you coming on, man. G, close us out, man.
Hey, well, yeah, we're in school, but the bell is ringing, so we got to go. But look, we're grateful for all of y'all coming on with us. We know you learned something, so share it with your friends. Tell your friends to share it with your family. Come again next time. God bless.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Peace, peace, peace.
You've been listening to the Academy Podcast with Austin and G. Hit the subscribe button and come again. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, and of course, Facebook. Oh yeah, and if you know someone who could use the information you just gained, take a minute to share. Much love from the AP. Peace.